Welcome to a Wayne 15 special presentation. Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana. Now here's your hosts, Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special program. And to all of our veterans watching, thank you so much for your service.
In the next hour, we will hear the stories of heroes right here in Northeast Indiana and across the Hoosier State. Our first story tonight is about a community with a commitment to never forget those who have given so much. The city of Huntington was designated a Purple Heart City in 2015. Now it's looking to build on that with a monument to remind everyone about the sacrifices made for our freedom. Memorial Park in Huntington is a powerful reminder of the appreciation felt in this community, a place where military pride runs deep.
My dad and my uncles, and I got a bunch of friends. We're all military. My heart's filled with joy. I mean, sometimes I get goosebumps just coming out here, just walking around.
In 2015, a Purple Heart monument was added. Gloria Holzinger spearheaded the fundraising effort. Her son Rob, a Purple Heart recipient himself, designed it. Now the goal is to add to the Purple Heart corridor that runs along the park.
So then I got thinking, we had the corridor, but there was nothing there. Why not try to go with something to show everybody, especially people coming in and out of our town?
The idea for a beautiful archway was born. After fundraising was slowed by COVID-19, the mayor literally stepped in to help.
I'm running the Marine Corps Marathon Challenge. There's a 10K race, a marathon, and an Ultra 50K, which is 31 miles.
Mayor Richard Strick is pushing his body to raise money and awareness for the project.
I definitely feel the fatigue in my quads and my calves, swelling in the ankles and everything else.
To have a mayor to do that and to know where his heart is at, and for our veterans and especially for Huntington, that's huge. So it means a lot to all of us.
I don't think there's any comparison to the sacrifice that I'm making with running and my time. I don't think any of that compares to those who've served in the military and the sacrifices they've made.
We just want to make sure that they're not left behind, that they're always remembered. That's really important.
So when we see that corridor project finalized, I think it's going to be a tremendous sense of pride for us as a community, that those of us who haven't served recognize the cost that's been borne by those who have.
And if fundraising goes well, they hope to break ground on the archway by Veterans Day next year. The goal is to make the corridor the gold standard for honoring the nation's Purple Heart recipients. If you would like to donate, we do have a link in this story on the Veterans Voices page on Wayne.com.
Tom Agnes flew Huey helicopters in the Vietnam War and is still flying now, decades later. His passengers are often still soldiers, and for them, these flights hold special meaning.
It's a wonderful thing as a veteran to know that you've shared experiences with other people and you're able to still share them with people through flight.
Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Tom Agnes fell in love with flying while in the ROTC program at Purdue University in the 1960s.
When I graduated, I got my diploma, I got my little butter bar pinned on, I had a private pilot's license, fixed wing, and then the Army sent me to rotor wing school to become a helicopter pilot.
After serving as a basic training commander, Agnes was called up to Vietnam, where he flew Huey helicopters for a year.
My first unit I was assigned to was 1st to the 9th Air Cav. It was the Buffalo Soldiers. And after 6 months, they stood down and went home. So I stayed right where I was at, and the unit moved in was called the 135th Assault Helicopter Company. Totally different mission. Now we're carrying troops into combat versus with the 1st to 9th, we were an aerial scout reconnaissance unit. We went out and hunted the bad guys every day, and I was actually the platoon leader that rescued them when they got shot down. That was my job. So if they found a bunker complex or one of the aircraft got shot down, I had an infantry platoon on board my 10 Hueys that I could go in and pick them up. Best description I ever heard, hours and hours of boredom punctuated by moments of stark terror. So that was pretty much the way it was.
Agnes contracted Japanese type B encephalitis and was medevaced home. After recovering, he came to Concordia High School in Fort Wayne as the ROTC instructor until 1979. He didn't fly much anymore, but that changed 12 years ago when he learned about American Huey 369 out of Grissom Air Reserve Base in Peru.
They let me get in, and I grabbed hold of the controls, and the other pilot says, when's the last time you flew? And I says, July. And he said, oh, that's not very long. I said, 10 years ago in July.
Now Agnes is one of about 20 pilots who fly the group's 4 Hueys at various veteran and school events all across the country.
We always fly with 2 pilots, and the other pilot and I will look at each other and go, can you believe we're really doing this? We almost have to pinch ourselves. It's just such a gift to be able to do it, because once you fly, any pilots out there know that it's in your blood.
What is a passion for Agnes is healing for the veterans who get to take one more flight.
A lot of people who maybe their last ride in a Huey was they were being medevaced out of the jungle or a combat area in Vietnam. So they've got some memories that are not so good. It's very cathartic for all involved.
American Huey 369 is currently raising money to build a museum at Grissom. It would be the only museum in the country dedicated to the Huey aircraft. They hope to break ground next year. They've raised half of the $3 million needed. You can learn more about the museum and how to donate in this story on the Veterans Voices page of WANE.com.
We are just getting started tonight. Still to come on Veterans Voices, a man who was at Iwo Jima when the flag was raised is honored on his final journey home.
And he served in the U.S. Navy and stormed the beaches of Normandy. Up next, we remember Al Edwards.
Well, we have a gift here for you.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
This is just to let you know that we're thinking about you. I'm here on behalf of Honor Flight. Just want to say thank you and let you know we're thinking about you. Even though we haven't been able to take our flight this year, we're really looking forward to next year.
Thank you for watching tonight's Veterans Voices. I'm Adam Brower, joined with Camille Garrison. We volunteer on Honor Flight Northeast Indiana's Board of Directors. 2020 has been a very difficult year for all of us, including the veterans that were scheduled on 2 spring flights this year that had their trips canceled, postponed, canceled again. So, Camille, I know that's been difficult on us and our veterans as well.
Absolutely, Adam. It has been a huge disappointment, not only for those veterans, but also us as members of Honor Flight. We look forward to spending time with them every year. We're just all patiently waiting for Honor Flight National to give us the thumbs up, the approval to go ahead and fly again. In the meantime, we're looking for creative ways to be able to reach out to those veterans and let them know that we're still thinking of them.
Can you tell us about some of those experiences?
I know personally, it was great to be able to go see the veterans. I don't realize how much I've missed them until I got out there and started delivering the signs and seeing them. And even with our masks, even with social distancing, trying to give virtual hugs to these veterans for all they've done. And I've heard that from several of the board members also who delivered. The excitement that they saw on the veterans' faces, the good feelings, the warm fuzzies, it just all makes us miss the fact that we haven't been on a flight yet, but we are sure looking forward to them coming on flight next year.
To our veterans that are watching that were scheduled for this past spring, stay strong. We are hopeful to be flying soon. To our veterans on our waiting list, we appreciate your patience as we quickly work to get you back to DC.
But Adam, wait, there's more.
That's right, we are excited tonight to announce that we are planning 3 trips in spring 2021. That will include not only the veterans that have had their flights postponed from this past year, but also those on our waiting list. We can't wait to take you to Washington, D.C. as well. Stay with us through tonight's show. We'll be talking more about our waiting list, the importance of applying for your trip, and give you a glimpse of what goes on behind the scenes, just to name a few things.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next segment.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices with your hosts Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
He stormed the beaches of Normandy and educated school children about his Navy experience. Al Edwards did not hesitate to share his story.
At age 96, the World War II hero passed away earlier this year. Now we honor him as WANE 15 Sierra Tufts shares his story.
I've had an enjoyable life. I'm glad I got to serve my country.
Words Al Edwards shared looking back on the 75th anniversary of D-Day in 2019. Edwards served in the 111th Seabees, storming the beaches of Normandy. Sadly, Al passed away in April at the age of 96.
He was just honored to serve his country. It was always country first, country first.
Al's daughter Janet Ostermeyer took us back to Al's home. There, she's still going through all of her father's photos and reminiscing about his stories.
He himself was scared to death, they said. He thought he'd never get home. He said he's never prayed so much in his life. He'd always say, Jan, there's no atheists in foxholes. He says everybody out there was always praying to get home.
Those are the stories Janet didn't hear for the longest time.
In his day, they didn't talk about the war. I mean, I talk to a lot of people my age, and they'll say, my dad never talked about it. It was just something when they came home they didn't talk about.
That all changed when Al's grandsons, Janet's kids, reached middle school.
My boys know a lot more about it than I do. He just never really talked about it to me. And then he started working at going to schools and explaining what he went through. He loved this country, and he wanted to make it the best that it could be.
Reflecting back on her father, Janet reminds people to just say thank you to our nation's heroes.
They always put their country first, even before their families, so you've got to thank those people and help them. And if you ever see anybody, just say thank you for your service. That meant tons to my dad. Just somebody he wouldn't know would come up and say thank you for your service. And he'd always say, well, I'm not a hero, they're all heroes. It's not just me that's in this war.
Al was often recognized because of what his family calls his breakfast hat. It's a treasured keepsake for Janet to go along with her memory of her hero, her father.
I want them to know how much I loved him and that he gave everything he could for anybody that he could. And he wanted to make this country the best country, and that he worked hard to let children know about the way things were and what they need to do to continue going on.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Sierra Tufts.
Incredible man. Al also served as potentate at the Mizpah Shrine. That is also where his family asked that donations to be made in his honor.
A World War II veteran who was on a Northeast Indiana honor flight in 2018 had a very special escort to his final resting place. Alan Akins served in the Marines and was at Iwo Jima when the iconic flag was raised. Akins passed away this past June. He was living in Arizona at the time, but Amy Donor from the Fort Wayne Marine Corps League made a very special flight to escort his ashes to Michigan, where he's now buried. The Phoenix Marine Corps League also put on a special honor ceremony at the airport. In 2018, Akins shared with us what he remembered about Iwo Jima.
Made 2 invasions before Iwo Jima, and I thought that I would never be home again. I just gave up the idea of ever being, go back alive. And I turned like this, and I see him raising the flag. And I said to my friends, it looks like we've got a chance of getting back home. I don't think there's a day goes by that I don't think of the Iwo Jima flag, because the guys that gave their life, so many of them, I think of it, how they fought and how many were killed so that we could have freedom in this country.
Akins is buried with his wife, Camille, who was a Marine sergeant during World War II.
Well, he was a prisoner of war in World War II. Coming up, you don't want to miss Curly Sebold's story of bravery and perseverance.
But first, how new technology is reuniting families with their fallen soldiers.
We work behind the scenes to ensure our veterans have a great trip so that the focus is all about them. We wanted to try and share just a snippet of what that work looks like and the countless hours our volunteers put in. Here's part 1 of that story.
It takes thousands of volunteer hours to make one flight happen. Chartering an American Airlines jet and putting 186 people on it, flying them to Washington back in one day, takes a lot of preparations. We have people who have special medical needs, special diets. It's all details. There's so many details that need to be covered to get everybody there safely and back.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But we have to first sort the database into who can go on the flight, the first 85 veterans, and then we have phone banks.
Call night is very fun. Sometimes you will get a message that the Guardian wants it to be a surprise for the veteran, so we call the veteran first, and you can just hear the joy. And they'll say, oh my goodness, oh I'm so excited. And sometimes from that point on, they don't hear a word you say. So
It's a long process. You'd think you could knock out 20, 30 calls in an evening, but usually it's half a dozen or maybe a little more, and it takes some time.
It's a heck of a lot of hours. Not everybody's working the same. Some are working a lot more hours than other ones.
Well, you know, you have your board members, you have, and since our current president's been there, he's brought on a group of volunteers, and then you have your ambassadors. Probably I would, you know, all of those folks do quite a bit of work to make all this happen, but one of the things that really impresses me that continues to go on is all of the non-members that are donors, you know, whether they're private individuals, corporations, or organizations that either individually donate or do fundraisers that support all of this.
The time spent at fundraisers, that's time that people really enjoy doing because people outside of the group are putting a lot of effort into doing this. We love showing the support. Even though it takes a ton of time to do this kind of stuff, it's time spent gladly. We're happy to spend that time doing it.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana continues. Now here's your hosts, Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
Tonight, two families have the peace of knowing what happened to their Hoosier heroes. Both died more than 70 years ago.
As Darius Johnson shows us, a modern-day mission recently reunited these families with their fallen soldiers.
It's just amazing. Emotions are running very high right now.
Almost a lifetime of waiting for an Indiana family. Now they're getting to welcome their honorable fallen Marine home.
We're very fortunate that this happened to be able to bring him back home and positively identify him as our family.
Marine Corps Private First Class Louis Wiesehan died 77 years ago during World War II.
And he fought in Tarawa, and he passed away, and they never got his body back.
The Richmond, Indiana native lost his life on the second day of battle, November 21st, 1943. In 2014, an organization dedicated to recovering American service members located a cemetery with the remains of 27 people killed in Tarawa. Louis was one of them.
I remember driving in my truck, and I told my fiance, I'm like, hey, they found Louis. It's the last thing I expected to hear.
Officials used DNA from his great niece, Kimberly Gardner, to positively identify him. Kimberly had never met him. So she made sure she was on the tarmac with 3 generations of her family waiting to honor her uncle's sacrifice.
When you see that coming off of the airplane, it just takes your breath away. You know, to know that that's your loved one that's been missing for 77 years.
It's a similar story for Suzanne Amvet, the niece of Marine Corps Private First Class Charles Miller of Albany, Indiana. Miller died on the 3rd day of battle.
We talked about him a little bit, you know, my mother and my grandmother.
Suzanne was told her uncle's remains could not be recovered. Then just before Memorial Day, she got the news.
It was pretty amazing. They took the DNA from his femur, and it was I think like a 99% match. It's a miracle.
Amvet was born 2 years after Miller's death. Though she never knew her uncle, the artifacts now in her possession provide a glimpse of the few days he spent on the battlefield.
I think what really hit me was when I received the necklace and the coins and items from his body. How brave they were and how brave all the soldiers are that put their lives out for us in America. It's just amazing.
An emotional thanks not only to the soldiers and Marines who died, but to the organizations that worked to bring together generations of family torn apart by war. In Indianapolis, I'm Darius Johnson.
From majestic marble to Hoosier heroes lining the walls. Up next, we will take you inside the Indiana War Memorial in Indianapolis, and what we find might surprise you.
And later, he served our country, and now his business is giving back to the community. You'll meet the man behind Fire Dogs Junk Removal.
I don't remember what flight it was, but it was in October 2014. It was a wonderful, wonderful flight. Of course, we had to meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we had a lovely breakfast, but I wasn't hungry. I was too excited about going. It was just a wonderful day. People would stop and shake your hands, and we gathered for a picture, and then we toured all the area. It was almost too much to take. But especially the Korean, it was haunting, that memorial was, and the figures.
Well, I'd seen pictures of it, and I just walked in and I walked all around looking at the different soldiers as they put their gear on and all of that, and then spotted the wall and went up to the wall and walked all along it looking at pictures, looking maybe I could see if I was on there, but I doubt if I was. But anyhow, it was a fabulous trip. Nothing was left to chance. Our guardian took care of everything we needed. They were with us all the time.
Oh, I didn't imagine that it would be like that. I'd seen a lot of the memorials before because I'd been to Washington, D.C., but I'd never seen the World War II. And it was everything and beyond what my imagination could even get me there. When all of the waterfalls and just the flags and the stars and all the memorials on the side, the photographs, the history, the reading. It's remarkable.
If you've never been on an ordinary flight, get signed up and get on that trip. This is a wonderful thing to do. You would enjoy it, because I did.
Every veteran that hasn't been on that trip needs to fill out an application, get their name in the pot.
Be sure and sign up, because it's an experience you'll never, never forget.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana with your hosts Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
If you've visited downtown Indianapolis, chances are you've driven by the Indiana War Memorial.
But have you seen inside it or know its history? Fanchon Stinger gives us a tour.
At first glance, it takes your breath away. The colors of our flag, red Vermont Romanesque marble columns, floor to ceiling.
The inscriptions were composed by a gentleman by the name of Royal Cortizos. He also did the inscriptions on the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C.
The blue rambush stained glass glistening on the ceiling, the same glass in the most beautiful cathedrals around the world. In the middle, the all-crystal star of destiny shines bright, the symbol of hope. This, illuminating the garrison flag, red for the blood that was shed, white for purity, and the blue for freedom, hanging in glory over the altar of consecration with the Pledge of Allegiance to our country.
In the corners are flags of countries who had smaller contributions.
Contributions to the American win in World War I. The reason the War Memorial sits at Meridian in East Michigan, built in all its grandeur on 25 sprawling acres.
The interior stone is unique from the standpoint that the stone actually came from the Allied countries, Belgium, Italy, Serbia, United Kingdom, and France.
The halls lined with tribute after tribute, displays of ordinary Hoosiers who've done extraordinary things protecting and defending our freedoms.
We have a 30,000 square foot museum in the basement, and we have a full-size Cobra helicopter.
Countless Hoosier heroes. From the fields of Indiana. Their bravery immortalized forever. The selfless sacrifice still being recognized today.
The new Congressional Gold Medal that was just awarded in July, that was for the final sailing crew of the USS Indianapolis.
And this, the stately Pershing Auditorium with the original 1933 seats. General Blackjack Pershing, famous for leading our nation's brave and infamous African-American Buffalo Soldiers after the Civil War.
People come here and they're surprised about the fact that we are not promoting war. We're not. We're promoting these individuals that put their life on the line so that we could all live free.
Brigadier General J. Stewart Goodwin, U.S. Air Force retired, is also one of those men. He served 37 years and is the War Memorial's executive director today.
One of the reasons I stayed for 37 years was because we don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't care what chromosome you have. What I care about is that you're part of the team and you're going to help everybody go home that night.
Could that, learned on the foothills of battle, now inspire hope and unity amid today's deep valleys of division?
We need to think about what holds us together, not what tears us apart. It's the fact that this freedom thing that we take for granted is something that we need to work on every day.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Fanchon Stinger.
So beautiful. Up next, medical dogs can be lifesavers for many veterans. Hear about a group in Fort Wayne working to pair service dogs with those who served our country.
And later on Veterans Voices, we get an exclusive first look at the Vietnam Memorial replica wall now in Fort Wayne. Stay with us.
Hello again. If you're a veteran and you have not yet signed up for your honor flight, the application process is truly simple and very easy. You can download a paper application and mail it to us, or fill out an online application on your computer, smartphone, or tablet. You'll be added to our waiting list based on when you served. Now, if you won't listen to me, here are some words from your fellow veterans that we hope will convince you.
It was the most humbling experience. The whole trip was something I can't really describe in words.
It's just overwhelming to go there. And anybody that gets a chance should go. And I want to go just to go with my comrades or people that I served with.
You're missing an opportunity. I did try to talk one veteran going, and he says, I don't want anything to do with it. He had some bad experiences in his service, and he didn't want to be reminded, and I can understand that. But this is something that you should experience, because it's a healing process in some ways, seeing your comrades on the flight.
Anybody that could go, even if they're, let's say in a wheelchair or either sickly in some way, there's people that will take care of you. You know, what's wrong with waiting a little bit? I thought, well, I'll just sign up and when my time comes, I'll go. But I knew that they said there was at least a 2-year waiting list at that time. I mean, I'm pleased to just get a chance to go. I mean, how often do you get a chance to go to the World War II monument, the Vietnam monument, and the Korean monument is just excellent.
I'm Eileen Zeisig, and I'm 99 years old, going on 100. Now, I'm ordering you to sign up for the honor flight. You'll never regret it.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices with your hosts, Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
As the saying goes, dog is man's best friend, but in this case, woman's best friend.
Wayne 15's Bree Brownlee has the story of a Navy veteran who was healed with the help of her four-legged companion.
I had contemplated suicide. In fact, if I didn't have Patton, I'm not sure I'd be talking to you right now.
Karen Louise O'Neill served in the United States Navy from 1973 to 1993 as an EMT. After her stint, she was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression because of the event she witnessed.
Good boy. Yeah, it's a good boy. Of course, being on an ambulance crew, I saw a lot of gruesome injuries. Also, I was out in San Diego. It's before your time, but there was a PSA plane crash that crashed in San Diego with a smaller plane, and there was, I think it was 163 lives lost in that, and it stuck with me for a long time.
At her lowest, she decided to seek counseling. Her doctor suggested that she get a medical service dog. Taking the advice, O'Neill applied for a medical dog at Guardian Angels and was paired with Patton, an English black lab.
He's always, as they say in the military, got my six. He's got my backs. He's an excellent listener. He keeps me distracted in overwhelming environments. He alerts me when my blood sugar's too low or too high.
About 95% of our recipients are veterans, and our donors are the ones that kind of slot where they would like their donations to go. So most of them are looking at veterans and first responders to help get a new normal, as we call it, once they have their service animal.
On Christmas Eve, she was at church and she noticed Patton kept putting his head on her knee and his tail was wagging. She tried several times to get him to sit down, but he wouldn't.
And I thought, well, maybe it's me, not him. So I checked my blood sugar and it was extremely high. So once I took my insulin, he was fine. But he had alerted me to the change in the smell of my skin because of the increased sugar level.
Not only does he help alert her on her sugar level, he also helps her cope with the pain.
He does, he wakes me up from night terrors by putting his big head on me, and if that doesn't work, he'll lick me from here to here.
The reason we have really focused on veterans is because even though our founder and CEO, Carol Borden, and myself have not served in the military, this is our way to give back to our country and our people who have served our country. My family goes all the way back to World War II, and her father recently passed away, who was a Korean War veteran. Her son served, and my son is currently serving now in the Navy. So we just have a passion for our veterans, for people who go out there and do everything they can to keep our country safe, to do what they need to do to help us, and this is our way to help and give back.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Brianna Brownlee.
Pretty remarkable. If you are a veteran in need of a service dog, or if you would like to donate to the group, you can learn more in this story on the Veterans Voices page on Wayne.com.
Up next, we honor two World War II veterans. First, Curly Seibold was captured when his plane was shot down. Story of his time in a prisoner of war camp and how he was rescued.
Plus, a big celebration for a special veteran in Whitley County.
We get up about 3 a.m. to make sure that the liaison team is out there, but we also have at least a dozen to 2 dozen people ready to go at 3:30, 4 o'clock to help us put the whole show together from the 122nd perspective.
These volunteers are incredible. Do you want to talk about masters of working from the shadows? It's never about the volunteers. If you needed something, you could just look and all of a sudden someone pops out of a shadow. Here you go. The volunteers are there, but you never see them. The food just arrives. The wheelchairs just arrive.
I don't think there's been one honor flight where you haven't detected a passion from all those people that are out there trying to help make it a success, either taking off or returning.
Well, one thing that I see is many of our volunteers, whether they're the Honor Flight Volunteer Corps or the USO volunteers, they have been volunteering for so long, they know what needs to happen.
Boy, there's a lot that goes on that I don't actually am involved in, but I just see from when my little part with Mail Call, a lot of people, a lot of work put in, doing what they can to get this set up and get these veterans to their destination in DC for a wonderful trip.
Well, even just flight day, we got, you got 50 volunteers. You get there, you got a base at 5 o'clock in the morning. Leave at 7:30 in the morning. There's 2.5 hours times 50 volunteers. That's just one aspect of it.
At the end of the day, a group of 4 or 5 of us will meet at the airport. We unload 1,000+ pounds of cargo from the bottom of the plane. Then we head around front. We gather all the wheelchairs that are scattered throughout the parking lot. Then we head back over to the air base, get all the wheelchairs, anything left there. We're usually done about 1/4 till midnight, and from starting at 4:30, it's a long day.
Flight day is filled with many, many unique challenges, and Michael and I are trying to preserve that through social media, and we're trying to stay 2 to 3 steps ahead of every veteran because we want to capture that look on their face as they're entering their memorial for the first time. It's a wonderful experience and challenge that we enjoy each trip.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana continues. Now here's your hosts, Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
It was October 1944 in the skies over Germany. His plane shot down. He was captured and taken to a prison camp. This is Curly Siebold's story.
He had a lot of experiences along the way that he'd sit and tell the kids. I've heard him a few times.
He was flying from London into Germany to Berlin, and they told him before they left half the planes wouldn't come back. That's pretty scary.
Wilbert Siebold grew up in Zanesville, Indiana. Quick glance at the top of his head, it's easy to see how he became known as Curly. He was drafted in 1941, joining the Army Air Corps, a gunner on a B-17.
Part of his job was to pull the pins on the bombs.
Now almost 97, Curly still remembers the day the mission did not go according to plan.
I was the last one they caught.
Curly and his crew were shot down. They survived the plane crash, but were quickly captured.
They took it to a barn, told the pilot, I says, it looks kind of bad. On the side there was with the guns was a relief we didn't get shot.
He'd had a brand new pair of shoes, and they kept pointing at his shoes. So he took rocks and stuff and scuffed them all up so that they wouldn't take his new shoes, because a lot of prisoners didn't have shoes. And if they walked very far, their feet would bleed.
The captured Americans were taken to a prison camp in Berlin.
There's 4 lots with a bunch of barracks in them, and the barracks I was in, I think there was around 18 people in it.
In a journal, pages filled with pencil, Curly drew a map of the camp and recorded what he remembered about life as a prisoner of war.
Wasn't much to eat.
Soup with nothing in there, just basically flavored water and a piece of bread maybe a day.
Curly and his crew tried to escape more than once.
It was moving people across Germany, and the planes would fly over. They didn't know if they were enemy planes or friendly planes. Everybody'd hit the ground. A couple times that he tried to escape is when the planes would come over, they'd hit the ground, they hid down in a ravine and left everybody else walk by.
Got caught a couple times.
Finally, a note passed to a messenger brought their saviors.
We was right at the gate there when they come, and we told them we wrote that note. I was lucky I got through it pretty good.
It's a pretty scary story.
A story of bravery, perseverance, and heroism from the greatest generation.
We are free, and it's because of those people we are.
Curly has a piece of his actual plane that was shot down mounted on a plaque. And on his keychain, he has German dog tags given to him in the prison camp. If a soldier was killed, the tags would be broken in half. And Curly is proud to show that his is still intact.
Very remarkable. Well, the oldest veteran in Whitley County just turned 100 years old, November 4th. World War II Navy veteran Ken Jones says he was grateful to spend time with family at a birthday party last week. He says the secret to a long life is to never stop exercising.
Getting care packages to those serving overseas can sometimes be tricky.
Still to come, we will tell you about an organization taking extra care to make sure the troops get their treats and know they're appreciated.
But first, a new business in Fort Wayne is founded by a veteran who went from serving our country to now serving our community.
Hey, Curtis, did you sign up for the honor flight?
No, I've been too busy.
Man, let me tell you what you've been missing. They got us all together for a luncheon where we could meet the other veterans. And then on flight date, when we arrived at the Air Guard base, my guardian and I were checked in. Then we sat down and ate with everyone that was going to be on the bus with us that day. Then they took us out to the flight line and the plane. It was just an awesome sight to see the huge flag as we drove under it. Also, everyone out there to greet us and see us off. All the smiles and laughs and singing while we were on the plane made the flight seem like it was over in a heartbeat. I've never had that much fun on a plane before. When we arrived in D.C., there were all these people to greet us and make us feel welcome. Then we got on the buses and watched everyone get out of our way while we toured around D.C., heading to the memorials. It was neat to see the families that had met the other veterans there, and the random people that had stopped for a photo or a school group that just came up to us to talk or shake our hands. Then we went to other memorials and also honored the women that were on the trip with us. I also got to see the tomb of the unknown soldier. It was so unbelievable, nothing like it when I got home back then.
Curtis, where you going? I'm going to get my application for an honor flight.
If you haven't signed up for your honor flight like my friend Curtis here, please visit our website where you can sign up online for your free trip. Or stop by your local American Legion or VFW post where they will have a paper application for you. With my friends Curtis and Jerry and all veterans watching tonight, thank you very much for your service.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana with your hosts Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
Veteran-owned business Fire Dogs Junk Removal opened in Fort Wayne earlier this year.
As Wayne 15's Joe Struce shows us, the Indiana Air National Guard veteran who manages the company sees a lot of similarities in his new career and his time spent serving our country.
Here I am giving back to the community in kind of a junk manner, but it's not, it's not as serious as giving your life, but it's definitely that feeling of servitude and, trying to help people in need. And that's a huge feeling for me.
Indiana Air National Guard veteran Rob Mers served for 9 years, both locally at the 122nd Fighter Wing and overseas in the Middle East. Now, he manages the Fort Wayne branch of Fire Dogs Junk Removal, a veteran and firefighter-owned junk removal business based in Indianapolis.
We're a junk removal service, obviously in the name, but we do much more than that. Moving, hot tub removal, swing set removal, shed tear down. Basically, if you have a house, we can clean out the attic all the way to the basement.
Mers says that the values of the junk removal company parallel those of the armed forces.
The giving back and the kind of service before self, treat every customer the way you want your family to be treated. It runs deep in this company.
The business prides itself on finishing the job, no matter how big or small, to serve customers with the same ideals of veterans who served our country.
We do it too because we want to genuinely help somebody, but we don't do it for the medals or the heroics. I'm nowhere near a hero. No, not even close. I wouldn't even put myself in that category.
Along with his work at Fire Dogs Junk Removal, Mers is a full-time firefighter at the Grissom Fire Department. The term fire dog is designated for military firefighters like Mers. Mers says that his post-service success is based on the core values that he learned while in active duty. He says that all veterans can find their own success as well.
Just keep grinding, discipline equals freedom. If you're disciplined, then you can pretty much do anything you want to do.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Joe Struess.
If you need Fire Dogs junk removal services, you can find a link in this story on the Veterans Voices page of Wayne.com.
Well, care packages sent with extra care.
Up next, how a Hoosier veteran is now serving those still serving overseas.
Welcome back. We want to take this opportunity to thank the donors, the flight sponsors, the countless organizations, and the families that have had a loved one pass and left a memorial to Honor Flight. It's because of your generosity and willingness to support our veterans that we can take 85 veterans 4 times a year to Washington, D.C. to see their memorials free of charge. Now, if you have not been able to participate in a local fundraiser or have been looking for a unique way to support our hub, we have a new option just for you. We're happy to announce that we are partnering with a new giving platform called Roundit, made possible through a larger partnership with the Honor Flight National Office. You can now use your smartphone and the giving platform app Roundit, or just as easily, you can use the Roundit website to set up automatic rounding for your credit card or debit card and have that rounded difference benefit our Honor Flight hub. Here's how easy it is. On your smartphone, just download and install the Roundit Giving Platform app, or visit roundit.com and click on the download button on their homepage and get started. In the next few steps, you'll simply log into your credit card or debit card website and connect. Enter your card information that you wish to use and you'll be set up. The Roundit platform does not store your login information. It's simply used one time to make that connection. The Roundit Giving platform easily allows you to choose the level of rounding for each transaction, as well as your total monthly rounding limit. You'll have full control of how much to round, and you can turn it off at any time. The Roundit Giving platform will keep track of your rounded increments, and then once you hit a $20 combined total, it will process your card. Oh, and if you hit your monthly giving limit, no further rounding will happen until that new month begins. That's it. Now every time you make a purchase, you are instantly supporting our Honor Flight hub, hassle-free, with total control, ease, and comfort. To learn more, visit our website, click on the donate button, and you'll find more information about Roundit and how to get started. Thanks for supporting Honor Flight, and happy rounding.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices with your hosts Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
Improving the lives of service members overseas while giving their families peace of mind at home.
After graduating from Ball State University and serving as a journalist for the Navy, Chelsea Mandello found a way to keep serving after her deployment. Katie Collett has her story.
For many service members and their families, Troopster is their lifeline to each other.
We are essentially the Amazon of military care packages.
The idea for the nonprofit sparked in second-class petty officer Chelsea Mandello's mind while serving in the Mediterranean during sequestration, a time of military budget cuts and extended deployments.
I remember we hadn't received mail in 3 months. And finally we were receiving this large shipment of care packages.
Chelsea's mom sent her a giant care package, but
everything in it had gone bad. Things had broken, things had melted.
So when 7 years of service and world travels with the Navy ended with an honorable discharge, Chelsea launched Troopster in November of 2015. Everyone who works there is a veteran.
We're all service members who have been deployed, who know what these active duty members are going through, and it means a lot to us personally.
This veteran says Troopster guarantees products will arrive in great condition to active duty service members anywhere in the world. And those serving without a family support system?
We actually travel across the nation where we work with different businesses and local organizations to hold community-wide pack events. And so those pack events, we work with these sponsors to send anywhere between 500 to 2,000 care packages, often to troops who don't have that family support network.
Chelsea makes it clear just because her time in the Navy has ended does not mean her service has.
Now, the way I see it, I'm still serving my country, but in a new way.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Katie Collette.
And to use Troopster for a loved one, just find this story on the Veterans Voices page on Wayne.com.
Coming up next, how a big donation is helping prevent veteran suicide.
And we get a first look at the Vietnam Memorial replica wall now in Fort Wayne. Stay with us.
Good evening. Honor Flight Northeast Indiana lost a really special lady this year. Sandy Meyer, or as I like to call her, Sandra, was truly the heart and soul of Honor Flight. She was truly dedicated to each and every veteran out there. And her passion was to ensure that as many veterans as possible could take their honor flight to Washington. Dear Sandra, we're here tonight to pay tribute. We love you and we miss you.
The biggest thing about her, Sandy, was first of all her heart. She had an enormous heart.
In my mind, she's not gone yet, but just her spirit. She had so much energy and love for Honor Flight.
Sandy and I laughed all the time. She was so much fun. She was so jovial. She was always upbeat. She taught me so much about honoring our veterans.
She loved the veterans passionately and passed that on, and her smile always was contagious.
She just, the room lit up when she came in. She was just a smile from ear to ear.
The never-ending smile. She had a lot of energy. She kept you going. She kept you happy.
I never saw her in a bad mood, and Sandy was always rushing here, there, sometimes with not the greatest of direction, but I knew she was rushing to get there. And always had a hug and a kiss for everybody.
In the early days of Honor Flight, Sandy did a lot, and over the 10 years that she was involved, she became the heart and soul of Honor Flight Northeast Indiana.
I think for me, looking back, I think Sandy was very much the spirit of the Honor Flight.
Well, one of the things that Sandy did, and she was well known and can be remembered for this, was she wanted to hug everybody.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana with your hosts Pat Hoffman and Alyssa Ivinson.
A hike in Fort Wayne raised more than $42,000 to help prevent veteran suicide. Forever Metal Roofing donated $30,000 of that at FW22's 6th annual 22K hike last month. When FW22 was formed, 22 veterans died by suicide every day in America. It's now 17 veterans a day, but the group continues to work to lower that number.
Well, a replica of the Vietnam Memorial Wall has a new home in Fort Wayne. Wayne 15 photojournalist Jeremy Major shows us an exclusive first look before it's installed.
These are 58,320 soldiers that gave their life for our country and our freedoms that we enjoy today. This is a tribute to fallen heroes, and these guys are heroes. As a veteran who fought in Vietnam, when you look at those names, it kind of turns my stomach, makes me sick. But for a lot of people to see their son's name on there, or their dad's name, or their grandfather's name, it has a lasting impact and it has closure. And I think that's the most important thing. This wall is an 80% replica of the 10-foot wall in Washington, D.C. There's 70 panels that will go up end to end to end to end to end. And this will be permanent. This will never leave the shrine when it's installed. The wall will start right here, and it'll go down back towards the Vietnam Memorial. I'm pretty excited about the possibility that you'll be able to come out here, see the wall, touch the wall, feel the wall, and pay tribute to those fallen heroes from the Vietnam War. So right now we're taking donations on our website, honoringforever.org. You can donate, there's a donate button there. We have canisters that we put out at certain retail locations that are filling up and come in. We have private donations. We had a lady in Florida send us $10,000. We had another couple come in a couple weeks ago, and her brother's on the wall, and she feels so committed, she wanted to write us a check for $10,000. So we still continue to talk to corporations, businesses, and individuals that stop by and just donate or go through the museum and leave money when they leave. We call ourselves a national museum, a national memorial. We want to have more for people to see and visit. The wall is just the beginning. So we're going to continue to do everything we can to hit our mark of 1.7 million so we can get this thing erected and people can enjoy it starting Memorial Weekend.
Photojournalist Jeremy Majors put that story together. The Veterans National Memorial and Shrine Museum is off O'Day Road in Fort Wayne.
That is all the time we have tonight, but on Wayne.com right now, you can watch many more stories of the bravery and sacrifice our servicemen and women make.
Just go to the Veterans Voices page under the News tab to see all the stories in our show tonight, as well as others from across the country.
We thank you so much for joining us tonight to honor our heroes.
To all our veterans and those still active in the military, we thank you for your service. Good night.